Cyclone Sundays with Ben Bruns, powered by Kelderman Manufacturing. From the Channel Seed Studios, this is Iowa Everywhere.
Welcome into Cyclone Sunday, presented by Kelderman Manufacturing from the Channel Seed Studios. I'm Aiden Wyatt, joined as always by Ben Bruns. Ben, Iowa State, tough loss last night, 28-21 against Kansas. But this isn't the Kansas 2-3 years ago. This is a legit, very good football team. What'd you think?
Yeah, they are a really good football team. And I think, I was as surprised as the Iowa State coaching staff was about how Kansas defensive line, particularly the interior guys, dominated Iowa State for three quarters. We had seen Iowa State's offensive line play really good football in the last month. And for the first three quarters of this game, I mean, they just got thrown around on the inside. Fourth quarter, some coverage saying, look, the play calling was mediocre, blah, 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 or pedestrian. I'm like, I don't think so. I just think based on the looks that we're getting a six-man box a bunch of the time, with a 6 or 7 man run look. And that's what you want, right? You need to be able to do that. 2 high safeties, you're not going to be able to throw it down the field consistently in that setting. The safeties weren't up in the run game, but the problem was we just couldn't block the guys at the point of attack. And then once you started missing, those blocks, then then the linebackers start making plays too, right? Just because you're not able to clean up the second level if you can't take care of the first. And as the game went on, Iowa State found some wrinkles to improve it, but I am certain that the staff had, no idea that, that offensive tape was going to be as gruesome as it was for at least the first half and most of the third quarter too.
Did it seem to you like maybe Iowa State reverted a little bit back to their style of offense in weeks 1 through 3?
Yeah, that. So Randy or Travis Hines, one or the other, said that in his column. Like, I didn't see that. I think part of the problem was you're getting a give read because of how the linebackers are playing, but you can't win at the point of attack. So you got to have a read approach, and maybe as the game went on, we started, certainly the touchdown that Rocco had, that quarterback lead counter was a nice changeup, but you're not going to make a living doing that all the time, right? And Rocco's running his butt off out there trying to make something happen when protection isn't there for very long. I just thought KU's defensive line was a lot better than Iowa State's offensive line for three quarters. Fourth quarter, not as much. Iowa State fought back and played really well. I also thought it was one of the worst officiated games I've seen, right? Just atrocious from the officials. From starting the clock at the wrong time after the penalty. That was the play Matt was really freaked out about on the 1st and 5. We ended up scoring on that drive anyway, but saying he stepped out of bounds because you're not in good position down the sideline because you're not actually running the way you're supposed to run. That guy is supposed to run to the end zone, and instead he stops and turns, and the play runs by him, and he calls him out of bounds on a guess.
Right,
it's just awful.
And so, I think we need to clarify too, that was not a reviewable play.
It's not a reviewable play
because right? If they call him down at the 1, you can go back and say, "Yep, stepped out of bounds at the 31-yard line."
Yep.
But if you step out, if they say blow it dead at the 31, you can't give him more yards after the play.
I don't blame the replay official at all,
right?
Or the rest of the crew. Right? It was one guy who screwed that thing up, and there's no coming back from it. The Caleb Bacon fumble, the strip that he had, right? That play had not been blown dead when he had possession of the ball. Now, was his forward progress stopped? Yes, it was, but they hadn't blown the whistle yet when he got possession of the ball. So it's just like these guys aren't perfect. They're human just like anybody else. Right. And certainly a bigger story in this was Iowa State's injuries in the secondary forcing a situation where every big play that KU wanted, they just went at our backup, right? They just went right at him. And, and we got dominated in that aspect of the game, right? And by the way, they saved it for the plays they needed. Pretty smart, right?
Yeah.
You don't go to the well all the time, right? Because at some point, Iowa State's going to make an adjustment. But, the big catch early in the fourth quarter, not the touchdown play. The touchdown play was an example of, biting too hard on the run and totally vacating your zone.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's a problem, right? Iowa State's starting two safeties can really, really, really play. But from there, it's a young squad, and we're asking guys to do things that, if you had more depth there, you wouldn't have to ask them to do. And some of that comes from just the portal, right? We lost a safety in the portal, and yeah, it's a young football team that's going to learn something from yesterday and continue growing up. But some of what we saw from the defense was some of what we saw back when Verdon was hurt, a month ago. And those big plays, right? It's pretty easy to pick out. Hey, find that guy and throw the ball at him, right?
Right. Before we stray away too far from Kansas, I want to get your thoughts on this. To me, I thought Matt Campbell was kind of the walk-away coach of the year in the Big 12. I thought this was his best job that he's had in 8 years now, in terms of all the adversity in the offseason, all the young guys.
Yeah.
And he's put together a really good football team. I think it's Lance Leipold now.
Yeah, I mean, Coach Leipold does a really good job, right? So let's just say that. I mean, I think both these guys are really outstanding coaches, and it was a well-coached game on both sides. I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens down the stretch, right? Iowa State has 3 difficult games. I mean, a 9 p.m. Central kick is bizarre, and certainly plays into BYU's favor as Iowa State goes out there. But if somebody doesn't stop Texas, it's going to be their guy, right? And I think Chris Kleiman absolutely outcoached Sarkisian on yesterday, but you got to have a kicker make a couple kicks, right?
Right.
So I think Leipold, Kleiman are both right there. Mike Gundy has turned this thing around in an amazing way, right? What they did yesterday is awesome, and hats off to them because, I got no love for OU. I got no love for Texas, right? None of us do. I would love to see a championship game where neither of those schools are in it, but it feels at this point like it would be very unlikely for Texas to not be in the Big 12 championship game.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think you're right. So should we talk some Rocco Beck here?
Yeah.
26, 216 yards, 1 costly interception. Didn't seem like he played bad, though, by any means. I think he was 12 for 13 in the second half. Just the one play,
Yeah, I thought he was a magician in comparison to some of the protection that he had, right? I mean, there were guys flying at him everywhere. I liked the blitz package, and when KU brought pressure, I thought they did a nice job of turning the dial up to make it unpredictable. And I think Rocco handled it really, really, really well. I mean, it was just one ball that floated out a little bit and got away from him on the interception. So he just continues to impress, and I'm sure he would say that he's got to be better, we got to be better, all that stuff. But he really is doing the deal, and it's fun to watch. I mean, you can't ask for better play out of somebody with his degree of experience, and he absolutely threw a couple guys open while he was scrambling. High level play.
How encouraged are you still with this Iowa State team?
I still think I've never seen a team improve so much in, this short a period of time. Never. And it's obvious how there's a big differential between different levels, especially in the secondary. You don't see that in the other position groups, by the way. I mean, I think, but that safety position is one that, is an area that when we get healthy again, we're going to be really good. We got to stay healthy. But, in my opinion, Iowa State's offensive line took a step back yesterday for 3 quarters, and in the fourth quarter played winning football. So, what do you do with that, right? I think I can't tell you what a good job of coaching our offensive line and tight end room has done this year. I think Clanton has done a phenomenal job. And so there'll be a lot that they can look at on that film and say, okay, where did this break down, right? First step, second step, your leverage wasn't in the right spot, your aiming point wasn't in the right spot, or as you attacked and fit in, right, you allowed the guy to twist and bend and throw you, right? That's the part that really impressed me about KU's defensive front was how good they were at turning their body and making themselves skinny. Big guys being able to bend and turn and, shed. And, it wasn't like Iowa State started the blocks in bad positions. There were a couple times where we were a little off our landmark, but for the most part, it was like once the fit happened, KU won. And so there's not a lot that you can do about that week to week. That is get bigger, get stronger, develop, and learn to be able to take and apply leverage better over time, right? But Iowa State's going to see a couple of really good D-lines coming up. I mean, that Texas D-line does the same stuff, right? They're every bit as physical. They're every bit as good at being able to shed and move and stuff you at the point of attack. K-State has a couple guys who are really good like that too. So, I think there's opportunity to see how much better this group can be in the next 3 weeks. And they're not going to see that out of BYU, right? BYU doesn't have those kinds of guys who can do that stuff. So, lace it up, go out and to the question of the backside pressure and the counter and that kind of stuff, not being as prevalent in this game, I think Iowa State's going to have to say to themselves, what do we do when we do get stuffed at the point of attack and we're running this read game all the time, right? We got to have an answer for that, where we hold the backside and pressure the backside, even though it's a give read. So I think that's something the coaching staff will talk about and continue to develop. But I feel really good about him. How about you, Aiden?
Yeah, see, I'm a giant weirdo. These close games, I love them because it's like, you're almost there.
Yeah.
And with a young team like this, it makes me kind of excited to think, they compete it. Like we've said, Kansas is a very good team, very well coached.
Yeah.
They have a lot of great players. Bean is the best backup quarterback in the country.
Yeah, he's really good, and I totally agree. Don't you think the way they fought back, right? And I mean, it really felt to me. I wasn't there, so I can't say, but it just seems like we kind of ran out of time, right? Is that how it felt in the stadium?
At one point, when it was 21-11, that was the most the crowd was in the game.
Yeah.
Then they get the 80-yard touchdown.
Yeah.
And it kind of deflated from there.
Yeah. Well, then you're climbing back out of another hole, but you did it again, right? You come back and you get another score. It's like, look, just give us another shot. I mean, but that was a big play, and what a great play design, right? Run fake, get a pitch man out there, which makes the force player come up.
Right.
And, we may have been playing assignment football when Thompson came up on that. And it's just, they forced the rotation all the way across the field. Verdon was close, but you can't get all the way from that weak side third over the top to the middle on a deep shot like that when it happens that fast. And so that'd be interesting it would be interesting to know how that play should have been defended, because it just feels like it's a case of Kansas, calling the right thing at the right time, and Iowa State, not executing the best way to defend it. But again, I had an experience when I was a freshman against Wyoming, and they ran a stunt that I'd never seen before. I mean, it wasn't anything that I had understood about what our scheme was to try and pick up. They actually took the weak side end. We were sliding the protection that way, and he came all the way to the B gap on my side. And my assignment was linebacker to down lineman to linebacker. Well, linebacker hung, right, but I didn't know that this thing was coming all the way around until it was too late. It was a strip sack for a touchdown, and Steve Loney, our offensive coordinator, was pretty harsh with me after that, and I'd never seen it before. I didn't know, right, and now I know, but at the time I didn't know. Well, maybe Thompson's in that same place, right?
Right.
Where you just never seen that before. Don't know how to defend it, and next thing you know, it's out the gate. So we're asking a lot from young guys, and so every single opportunity is a learning opportunity, and the part that was good for me in my career is I learned and I grew and I figured out how to do things different, and maybe how to ask better questions, and all of these guys who are going through this for the first time are in that same place, right? And I think the cool part about it is the staff is a really caring group that will help them be their best.
How do you feel about Iowa State's chances of a bowl game? You go to BYU, get Texas at home in November, so could get weird.
Yeah.
And then you hit the road for K-State.
Yeah, I like our chances. I really do. I think I don't think there's a reason why any of those three games aren't winnable. So I'm not willing to sit here and say we're going to win one of those three. I'm willing to sit here and say I think we have a chance to win two or three of those. And I think they should too, right? Getting guys healthy and I don't know the status of Cooper's injury. That's a big deal.
Yeah. I mean, you look at the last year and a half, if Verdon or Cooper's not on the field, it's a totally different defense.
Yeah. Yep. And, again, it comes down to how does the staff continue to develop guys right in that back end to be able to step in and play differently at times. Hard to do week to week, right? But there'll be a great deal of learning that takes place this week, and we'll be better for it. So I think hats off to this coaching staff for the work that they've done this year. Hats off to these kids for the growth that they've had this year, and they're going to continue to be challenged and continue to grow, and it's going to be a if you had to say where this season, we don't know the outcome of this season yet, Aiden, but if you had to say right now, what's your view on Iowa State football this year? I got to believe it's super positive, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I kind of approached this year as TJ Otzelberger's first year, where it was like, all right, we got a lot of guys that we don't know a lot about. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
And they're sitting in a decent spot in the second week of November, heading into the second week of November.
Played some really good football in the last, 5 weeks. I think mean, you heard Coach talk about attention to detail and some of those kinds of things. Yesterday, there were times where we just got a good old fashioned whipping. But I think at positions, right? But we also administered one in a bunch of cases, right? Our D line, I thought, played amazing. And if you told me that Devin Neal was going to be well short of 100 yards coming into this game, and that KU wouldn't run it for 100, I would tell you we absolutely are going to win that football game. But the wild card was the Cooper injury, and that's where the points came from. So, such is life.
Such is life. All right, Ben, thank you for your time as always. We now send it to our Channel Seedsman of the Week, Dustin Fouch. Okay, we now welcome into the Channel Seeds Studios my man Dustin Fouch. This is Cyclone Sunday presented by Keller Manufacturing. Dustin, what did you think of the game yesterday?
My win streak's done. My win streak's over. I was 3-0, and now I'm 3-1. I thought I was the good luck charm, but I wasn't. But yeah, frustrating, and maybe kind of just a reality check to how young this team is and how good Kansas is, right? Mm-hmm. That's not your grandpa's Kansas team for sure. And I mean, we were kind of exposed. You can tell they watched a lot of tape, and they got a good coach, and they got a lot of good players. So I guess if there's one takeaway from last night, it was kind of a reality check, I think. And I think that was probably. I think that's the best team we've played all year. I think that team's better than Oklahoma, and I can back that up by saying that team beat Oklahoma. So, yeah, reality check.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Mm-hmm. What do you think went wrong for Iowa State yesterday?
The offensive scheme. I mean, it seems like they kind of backtracked a little bit. I'm not sure what that was all about. Didn't really air it out. Rocco didn't have a bad game. The pick six was tough. Just like the Iowa game. Killer. And it was the killer. And maybe that gave him some cold feet. But when you look at Rocco's stat line, it's good. It's really good. So we really missed a Cooper in the secondary. I mean, those Kansas coaches keyed on that position all night long, and that's where a lot of the big plays were given up. So missing Cooper. The offensive scheme was a little off. Maybe the O-line took a little step backwards, but that Kansas D is good. So it just goes back to Kansas being that good. We've came a long ways this year. I think we played that game early in the season. We probably get smashed, but we made a game out of it. So just reality check time. And the whole season, when I talked to you after the UNI game, after everything this team's gone through with the gambling stuff and all the setbacks, the young players playing, 6 wins I thought was the goal the whole season, and it's still attainable. So we're going to be okay. This is a young team that's still got a shot at a bowl game, and I think that's all we can ask for.
How do you feel about Iowa State's chances heading to BYU?
Man, they got.
I mean, if you want to look ahead, even the last 3 games,
look ahead, right?
So you get Texas at home, and then finish the year at K-State.
BYU got boat raced yesterday by West Virginia. Man, what is BYU? Are they good? Are they bad? I don't know if we got a feel for it. That's probably the most winnable game on the schedule that's left. It's too bad that they play it at like 3:00 in the morning out in the mountains somewhere. I mean, that's going to be tough. That late kick at 9 or 9:30.
I think 9:15 Central.
Just something about going out west is going to be tough. The time change is going to be tough. I don't know if the altitude is going to be tough. The environment's going to be tough, but that's probably the most winnable game. I like our chances. I mean, I think we're more talented than BYU, but you put all those other things up against us. The time change, the travel. That's going to be tough. But I don't know. We might go in there as a slight favorite. We'll see. But yeah, it'd be great to go out there and get that 6th win. And then the last 2, it kind of takes pressure off those last 2 games there. You go out there and you lose. You need to split the last 2, and then probably the 2 toughest games of the year. Texas coming here, and then us going to K-State. Those are going to be, man, K-State's good. They're that's going to be tough, and they're always tough. So we need to get this win next week. If not, it's going to make those last 2 games. It's going to crank the pressure up for sure.
Yep. Any last thoughts before we get out of here?
I just got one funny thing. So me and my wife took all 4 of our kids to the game yesterday, and they were pumped, and the weather was awesome, and it was just like this perfect day. And you just the black uniforms, the night game, the weather. Brock Purdy's there. Everything's just lighted up. Like there's no way we're going to lose this game. This is just the fireworks before the game, everything. And we get a slow start, and they start getting some bad vibes, and then we kind of make a comeback, and my kids are just like all into it, right? And we come down and we score that touchdown to go down 3 with like 8 or 9 minutes left, maybe. And the place is rocking. And then they play Juicy Wiggle, and it's just, my kids are just jumping and hollering, and everybody's high fiving. And then give it to the Kansas. They come out and just punch us right in the face with an 80-yard touchdown pass and suck the air out of the whole stadium. And you could have heard a pin drop after that. And I look over, and my 7-year-old looks at me and she goes, "Well, Dad, at least we got to be happy for a little while." And I'm like,
She's gonna be a great Iowa State fan.
Yeah. She's just already like, yeah, it's already burnt into her. Like, we got to be happy for a little while, Dad. That was nice. So, anyway, I don't know. I'll leave it with that was a reality check. We've got a good young team. This team's just going to keep getting better. The future's bright. Throw Texas and Oklahoma out of this league next year, and you bring 80% of this roster back. I mean, it's a bright future for this team. So I don't know. I'm optimistic, but that's the Iowa State fan in me too, right?
Yep. Well said, Dustin. Thank you for your time as always. This has been Cyclone Sunday, presented by Keller Manufacturing from the Channel Seed Studios. We'll see you next time.